standing here with a living legend in Aiden O'Brien, who's already had 2 winners. We've had Meditate win the Juvenile Fillies turf, and then you win the Juvenile turf with Victoria Road.
Yeah, no, absolutely delighted with Meditate. We weren't sure that she would stay. Her form was very good through the season. She just got beat her last twice, but we felt there was circumstances beat her both times. So if she stayed in good form, because she's had a long season, that this race might suit her. And we were going to find out going forward to next year whether she could be a classic Guineas filly or not. Ryan gave her a brilliant ride. He rode her very patiently and produced her lovely. So we were over the moon with her. And Victoria Road has improved with every run. When Ryan Wood on him the last day, he felt that he could be a French Derby horse after winning Shanty, and it's a difficult place to come from behind. So we felt if he's that type of quality of horse, that this race would suit him well. So, no, absolutely delighted with him, really. Relaxed great and quick and great, and Ryan gave him a super ride.
Well, I think that's so fascinating because we could potentially see 2 horses from the exact same family talking about Victoria Road and the horse who's the current early favorite for the Epsom Derby and Auguste Rodin, who you train. Both of them very similarly bred from the same family. Again, Magical is in there, Rhododendron is in there, and Rhododendron on the cover of Deep Impact, who is Saxon Warrior's sire, produced Auguste Rodin.
Yeah, absolutely. It's incredible pedigree. But we're so excited about, obviously, a Saxon Warrior. And Augustus Rodin is something we think like we've never had before. Like he's only a baby. He was so impressive the last day in ground that he would have hated. And we think that he's going to be something really exciting next year.
Well, we're already excited. The prospect of that type of double is something that would statistically be rare.
Absolutely. And like obviously he's the last of the Deep Impacts. So, and he's out of, like you said, Rhododendron by Galileo from the same pedigree as Victoria Road. So incredible pedigrees really. And we feel so grateful and privileged to have them to train.
Well, I feel so grateful and privileged to get your insight. Thank you so much for your time. And we're looking forward already to next year with these colts as 3-year-olds.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Okay, you heard it from the man himself right there. That was Aiden O'Brien talking about his Future Stars Friday champions, Meditate in the Juvenile Fillies turf and Victoria Road in the Juvenile turf. Coolmore would go on Saturday to win with Tuesday in the Filly and Mare turf. Now, unfortunately, we're going to try to do something fun. My friends from Coolmore, it did not work out today, so sorry about that. But my first live guest is going to be coming up on the other side of this next package, because not only did I get to speak with Aiden O'Brien, I got to speak with Charlie Appleby. Check this out, talking about his Future Stars Friday winners. And then also, we also saw Rebels Romance win the turf on Saturday. So another hat trick for Charlie Appleby.
Well, after collecting a hat trick in 2021, it is no surprise to see Charlie Appleby come ready to fire here at Breeders' Cup 2022, winning with Mischief Magic in the Juvenile Turf Sprint. And then we saw Modern Games, who is a great ambassador for what the Future Stars Friday card is about. 2-year-olds, the headliners of tomorrow. Last year, he won the Juvenile Turf. He comes back and wins the mile here. So can you just tell us, what is it about your program that has these horses so poised to pounce?
I think we're lucky that we're just with the caliber of horse that we have. Obviously, you can't do it without the horse, but the more experience we gain year on year of what we've got to try and find, more importantly, and then hopefully during the course of our European season, start to work out the horses that we feel will suit this challenge. It's a completely different race scenario and setup than we have back in the UK. So mentally, they've got to be strong enough to be able to take it. I like to bring them over for the future as well. Modern Games backing it up there from the juvenile to the turf this year. Silver Knot, I know we just got pipped there, but it was a good schooling ground for him yesterday. So hopefully he might be a horse that we could be looking at bringing back to America next year. Mischief Magic, it was there. It was great. Whether he's got a campaign here next year, we'll see, because he's more the sprinting type.
Mischief Magic, that horse put together a hat trick himself, and then he ran into Blackbeard in the middle park. What were your impressions of that race?
Look, it was a competitive middle park. It's a bit of a Newmarket cliche. The track didn't suit us, but in the dip there. But the one thing I felt here was his experience would come to the fore, and also just the character of the horse. He's a battler, and the one thing they were always going to do around here is get into a few tight turns, and he was thriving on it.
Going back real quick to Modern Games, you have spoken to his mental fortitude. That last out there, he ran his race even though he hated the ground every step of the way.
Yeah, that's the horse he is. As someone mentioned there earlier in the week when they were talking about him cantering around the track, they love to play poker against him because he just shows his hand so well. And that's what he does. He does what it says on the tin. He doesn't know how to lie down. He just goes out there and he tries his heart out.
Also specials that connection, that relationship you've had with Godolphin and William Buick?
Yeah, look, we're a team that win, lose or draw, we don't point fingers. We just, we accept it to a level. We discuss it in a healthy manner, and then we'll go forward and try and put right if we've had a wrong somewhere along the way. But the support that we have from His Highness Sheikh Mohammed and Team Godolphin, it makes my life and the team's life at home easier, and then hopefully that makes William's life a bit easier as well.
Thank you so much, Charlie, for all your time, and congratulations on your Breeders' Cup Championship scores.
You're very kind. Thank you again for all your support.
All right, well, there you go. Now, Godolphin not only won with Charlie Appleby, but then for me, Flightline was incredible. Don't get me wrong, but the most impactful race I saw all weekend had to be Cody's Wish winning the Dirt Mile, and I'm so thankful to have joining me now, Michael Banahan, who is the director of Bloodstock for Godolphin, to chat about just an exceptional Breeders' Cup 2022. So where do you want to start? You want to start Future Stars Friday?
Absolutely. Why not? We lead into it. Yeah, the Future Stars was another great day for Godolphin, especially Godolphin from Moulton Paddocks, and Charlie had horses lined up ready to go again. And I think with the little colt in the sprint, got an exceptional ride from William Buick. I think he enjoyed doing that, and he enjoyed not being able to get through some of those gaps and then having to move around and eventually get one. And I think he thrived on that. And I think in Charlie's interview as well, he sort of alluded to that as well, that he liked a little bit of a battle, and maybe the big field, sharp track at Keeneland suited him very well for doing that. And he anticipated that might suit him well. So I think I talked to him earlier in the week, and his plan for him will be probably work back from Royal Ascot next year with the Commonwealth as the big goal, and obviously that's always a big field in there as well. And even though it's on a straight track, he might enjoy the rough and tumble of all that and trying to make his way through there. But he's a proven horse, and he's a true and true sprinter. So I think that'll be his target going forward for next year. And obviously, we saw Silver Knot. We were, pretty gutted to have a rough race and a tough race to get through there, and then, through that tiny gap on the rail, and we said, "This is great. We haven't won," and then to come get pipped by Ryan Moore with another exceptional ride on the outside. And when it went by the line, I thought we were beaten. Then I saw the replay, and I said, "Hold on for a second. Maybe we've had this." And then when I saw the photo finish, and it was, a cigarette paper between them, both horses ran very well. Silver Knot, I think it'll be a nice horse to have next year, and I think we'll probably see him maybe back over here. He'll probably go in some of the trials in Europe in the springtime and probably do what Nation's Pride did this year and come back maybe Belmont Derby and work from there. He looks like a horse that'll like a little bit of distance as well. So I think he'd be a nice horse to look forward to next year in America as well.
Although I think I was prepared either way for who's going to come up on the other side of that win photo. I had not heard as thin as a cigarette paper before. I might have to steal that going forward. But one thing that I loved in those company lines is that he'd been knocking heads with Chaldean, and I am a Chaldean, like ethnically Chaldean. So I kind of, I love that perspective. I know that's a Juddmonte horse. Kind of wanted it to be a Godolphin horse, so it would be one of the ones coming over here for Breeders' Cup. But as it stands, obviously this horse is in great company, so it's going to be exciting to see what he does going forward. Now let's talk about a Rebel's Romance. In that case, that was James Doyle award.
It was great for James. Like, William gets the choice of all the mounts, and James is obviously a very able deputy, but I'm sure you will have seen him at the Breeders' Cup. He's a very tall jockey, and so he struggles to make some of the weight in America. So sometimes he misses out on some of those rides that the Tory picked up during the year, or different jockeys, or maybe some of the US-based jockeys. But he'd be very much Charlie's go-to rider when William can't do it, or if there's two in the race, like we saw in the Guineas this year. And so it was fantastic for James to pick up his first Breeders' Cup win. And he was probably in the enviable position that he didn't have to make the choice of which horse to ride, but was very happy whichever one William Buick wasn't going to ride, that he was going to pick up that one. So it was great, and we were all delighted for James. I know William would have loved to have ridden the winner, but he had a good weekend anyway. And that horse has just improved all year long. You know, we thought he was, you know, he was a Belmont horse. Actually, he came over here to run the Belmont and picked up a little injury and didn't make it after he won the UAE Derby as a 3-year-old. And so then he had a long time off, and you know, when he went back to Dubai in the winter time, didn't just all go according to plan. And when he came back to Europe, then he started out in the turf, and so he's undefeated on the turf, undefeated on 1.5 miles. Has run in 3 different countries, and just seems like he improves all the time. And he's a big horse, and you know, people who would have seen him at the Breeders' Cup probably had a little bit of a concern how he's going to get around the tight track at Keeneland, but he managed. You know, once he got into the rhythm of the race, he did it very well, and he won quite easily. And there's a great photograph just as they're going by the wire, and you know, James Doyle is sort of looking over, and he's a smile on his face, and I said, well, that doesn't happen in too many Breeders' Cup races, that you have the opportunity to I wouldn't say he was posing for the camera, but it was a nice photograph. And you know, I think that horse will have a lot of opportunities next year. He's a gelding, so he's probably there's several races in Europe he won't be allowed to run in.
Yeah.
So I think he'll probably go to Dubai, target the Shima Classic, and then probably look at coming back over here to the US again, and they just play around and see what races are available, and how the 3-year-olds develop, and Adiyar and what he's going to do, and Yabir, and so he'll have an arsenal of good 1.5 or 1.25 horses in Europe. So with Rebels Romance joining the team now.
Love it. And Dubawi again with Modern Games, a great representative for what our Future Stars Friday card is about. Winning the Juvenile Turf last year, coming back and now winning the mile here, and just exceptional horse, such a gutty horse. When you look at this record, 7 wins from 13 starts, 3 seconds and a third. I mean, the horses he's lost to are like Baid and Vedini, but this horse just has so much fortitude.
Oh, he's unbelievable, and we saw that last year as a likely race 2-year-old to go through everything that he went through at Del Mar, and then get back into the gate and run a big, huge race. So it showed you that he was a tough horse, and that he could take lots of different things that were going to be thrown at him, and he was still going to try his hardest and possibly come out on top in a lot of those races. So I think, as you've said, he's run on ground that hasn't suited him, probably in the French Derby with Bedini beating him, and he gets on a firm turf track, and I think we saw him at his best, probably outside of Baid, and that was a very, very good run, and probably didn't get the credit he deserved for that run at the time, because Caribas was meant to run in that race, and he was sort of super sub, and he ran exceptionally well. But when we saw what he did up in Woodbine, where he got a clear run, and he absolutely exploded down the stretch there, and horses that he didn't beat quite as far at the Breeders' Cup, I think that's probably more of a true reflection of his ability on fast ground. When he gets fast ground, he is a very, very, very good horse, and I think that'll show up next year, hopefully, in all the big mile races, not only in Europe, but I think Charlie is keen to get him back over to America again. Obviously, Breeders' Cup being a goal for him next year as well, and you know, California next year, I'm sure we'll get the ground that'll suit him very well.
Well, no, that's super exciting. And again, my favorite race of the whole championship was the dirt mile. I mean, how could it not be? I was standing there watching on the monitors because I was actually in the midst of doing a hosting gig in the Lexington room, and I'm watching the race, and I see Cody just making that run down the stretch, and I'm thinking, is he going to get there? Is he going to get there? And I don't know. It was as if he just kind of got pushed. He just found that other gear to like push across the wire there, and it just I don't know. I started crying. And when I saw Cody Dorman, for whom he's named, in the winner's circle, I was waterworks.
Yeah, I don't think you're the only one.
No, I'm not. I mean, I'm going to have you keep talking. I'm going to show the replay in the background just in case. I don't know how anybody would have missed this race, but just in case they did, I'll play it in the background. But for those who don't know the story, the short of it is this. Cody Dorman is this young man who, through Make-A-Wish Foundation, met Cody, now Cody's Wish, his namesake horse, as a weanling, at Gainsborough Farm.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was so fascinating in the package is, I think he said, Melville Hill said he had about 40 or so weanlings out there.
Yeah, about 40, 45 weanlings, yeah.
And it could have been any horse. They happened to bring him up, and they just had an instant bond and connection. And you know what? You tell the story, because I'm so moved by it. I think I might actually start to tear up, because it's just, to me, miraculous, literally miraculous.
Yeah, no, it's a fantastic story, and you know, they've been connected since Cody's Wish was a weanling, and he's met him on several occasions, and probably the most impactful one was through the pandemic when he was feeling depressed and was down, and obviously he's a non-verbal guy and communicates through a tablet, and just makes it so much tougher. And when he saw him as a yearling, or a 2-year-old, should I say, he was, you know, that lifted his spirit so much. And if he never won a race or never did anything, that lifted that guy's spirit so much that day that it gave the family hope that they were going to be able to get out through the pandemic with their family in a good place. And then for the whole story of him, you know, winning in front of the Dorman family when Cody was there at Churchill Downs on 3-4 different occasions, and then, you know, for them to be part of the whole build-up for Breeders' Cup week, and Breeders' Cup were very kind and generous and gave the Dorman family tickets and made sure that they were in a spot where they could see the races. But he got it, you know, he was invited down to come to the draw down in Rupp Arena. They really enjoyed being part of that whole deal as well. And then on the Wednesday before the race, he got an opportunity to come to the backside and see Cody's Wish having a pick of grass with Bill Mott and Neil Polensky out on the backside of Keeneland, and really enjoyed that sort of quiet time when it was sort of just a family, Cody's Wish with Bill and his team. And then, you know, like, it was like they couldn't wait to get to the races, even on the Friday as well. They went both days. They were getting up early in the morning. They were probably the first people at the racetrack. Really embraced the whole experience. And for him to, you know, to win the race, it was just incredible. And, you know, I think, you know, on the NBC broadcast as well, like, you know, all that team all were choked up from it in the moment. And it was so real in that moment that and I think, you know, no matter who people bet on in the race or who they wanted to win, when they were coming down to the finish, I think everyone was cheering for Cody's Wish. And it was just an incredible story. And we genuinely thought that it was going to be very tough for him that day on the configuration at Keeneland, with the 2 turns, which he'd never won at before. And Cyberknife, being the tough son of a gun that he is.
Yeah, right.
He wasn't the horse that I wanted on the inside to be able to have to try and pass down there, because, you know, we've seen, you know, dual grade 1 winner as a 3-year-old. He's a tough horse to pass, and just being able to do that. And Junior Alvarado has a great relationship with the horse as well. You know, rode a couple of fantastic races on him in the Forgo previously, and then in the Breeders' Cup Mile. And you know, he alluded to in his interview afterwards, up at Churchill Downs, when he came into the winners' enclosure and he saw Cody Dorman in the wheelchair, that he wanted to get down and, you know, nuzzle him or go and see him or whatever,
Aw.
which I didn't see that, but he felt that being on the back of the horse that he wanted to do that. So it's an absolutely incredible story, and it's a story that's going to continue after we made the decision to keep the horse in training. And I think there's he's only run 12 times, and there's a lot of opportunities next year hopefully for him to build upon his resume already, and so I think we've an awful lot to look forward to.
It's so incredible. And again, just all the parts that had to go into making this story. It's too perfect. You couldn't write it. There is divine there is a divine fingerprint on this, in my opinion. I mean, and if you haven't seen the package that NBC did on Cody's Wish and Cody Dorman, I highly suggest go online. You can find it on YouTube. It is there. I watched it again today, and I just broke down in tears when Cody says that we have the same heart. We never give up. And then his dad went on to say that he feels that Cody's Wish has the legs that his son doesn't. And together they kind of make that whole. And it's just, I don't know. It's just a beautiful story. And I mean, what an absolute blessing to have this part of your journey as well.
Oh, no, absolutely. And we feel so grateful to be involved in it as well. And as Cody's dad said in the winner's enclosure when Brittany Urton interviewed him, was that everyone that was there is sort of part of the journey and part of the family that he has as well. So it's been an unbelievable journey. Everyone has embraced it, and none more than probably Kenny McCarthy, who is Bill's assistant up in Churchill, where he was last year. And so he interacted with the family quite a bit as well. And so it's been impactful to everyone that has been involved in the whole story as well. And if people haven't seen that piece that you've talked about, if they're going to watch it, they want to bring themselves a box of tissues as well, because they'll probably need them.
Oh, no, they'll definitely need them. And this has been just a pleasure to go over your wins. Godolphin knocking out of the park. As expected, as always, the breeding program, just so exceptional. Of course, we're all fans of Essential Quality, who is a juvenile winner over there, along with Street Sense and Nyquist. And you've got a whole slate of just wonderful stallions. And of course, Medaglia d'Oro, who's still going strong at
Absolutely.
How old is he now?
He's going to be 24 next
there you
year.
go.
So, yeah, hopefully breed a nice book of mares to him again next year. And
there you go.
He's amazing horse, and he's in great shape.
Well, Michael, I'm going to be bringing in my next guest. You can say hi real quick. I'm going to add him to the stream right now, and it is dual Hall of Fame trainer Mark Casse.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, Mark.
Michael.
Hi, Mark.
I'm sure you all know each other.
Yes, and I shed tears watching the show, Cody's show. It's quite remarkable.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, again, we have to thank you for your time, Michael. And of course, we're going to be doing Future Stars forecast into 2023. And I'm sure we're going to have a whole bunch of more 2-year-olds to be talking about. So I'll be getting in touch.
Okay, great stuff. Thanks, Ren.
Thank you, everybody.
Congratulations, Mark, with the juvenile winner.
Oh, thank you. And congratulations to you guys. Have a great evening.
Yeah, well, super for everyone. Have winners.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you so much. And let's talk about Wonder Wheel now. Thank you, Michael.
See you, Ren. Thanks.
All right, Mark. So, hello, Wonder Wheel. What a win. Because first of all, I have to back it up. There's a whole story behind getting excited about her in the first place, because I kind of became friends with Jonathan Green through the whole process of having him on this show. He's got the record now for the longest guest spot on it, 2 hours.
Wow.
Yes. I had him on for 2 hours. We talked about everything, industry, and it was a fun time. And so I was already excited about her. I always love the storyline of a horse sort of trying to pick up whether it's their sire or their dam left off. And in her case, her mom was third in the Juvenile Fillies. So you kind of love that whole hero's journey type tale. that could possibly happen if she should achieve what her mother was not able to do. But yeah, just being a fan of Jonathan, it's hard not to root for him, right?
Oh, they're,
Yeah.
you know, it's a great family. They, John and Len and Lois, and they love horse racing. And, you know, they get excited when they win, which is for a trainer, it's nice. Great losers and great winners.
Yeah, they take it all in stride, as they say, right? But yeah, because I was rooting for Web Slinger too. Did he come out? Did he come out of the juvenile turf all right?
Well, he came out of it fine. You know, he had kind of a rough trip. He became a gelding a couple days ago, so he's not feeling quite as chipper as he was
the
week prior. But he has a bit of an attitude, and but I actually thought he ran very well in the Breeders' Cup. You know, Dylan had some issues and didn't make it for the Breeders' Cup, so Johnny took over, and I said, well, Johnny, we got to save ground. And, you know, he said, so he was wide in both turns. He came back. He said, I tried. And he said, every time I went somewhere, he said, I ran into something, you know. But the amazing thing about that horse was the energy he had even after the race. He got out very strong. I think he could be, you know, a pretty good horse in the future.
Well, he's got all that great turf pedigree in the background of his pedigree. I mean, in the background of the family there, like really good, solid, you know, top tier type pedigree. And so, I mean, I was already excited about him because I thought, you know, what we saw from him in the now, it just really made sense that he finally got to stretch those legs around the 2 turns on the grass. But as far as Wonder Wheel goes, okay, so now, I mean, it's pretty obvious she's going to be Eclipse champion 2-year-old filly. That has to feel good.
It does. You know, as a trainer, it's the cherry on top. You know, when one of your kids achieves the biggest goal they can achieve in a year, you know, that means you were good a few times, not just once. And so she's our 6th, I believe, which I'm very proud of.
Oh my goodness! Well, she only had that one loss the whole season, and it was in the Spinaway Stakes. That
was my fault a little bit. That was my fault. You know, she broke her maiden, and then she won impressively. But I felt like at some point I needed to take it easy with her because our goal was always from the day she broke her maiden, we talked about winning the Breeders' Cup. So then we looked at it and what was the best way to get there. And the Spinaway was important to us. It's a grade 1, but it wasn't the ultimate goal. And so I had to kind of make a decision. I could have ran her possibly in the Adirondack, which would have then set her up for the Spinaway. Chose not to. And then I thought, you know, it's important with these fillies, especially with a filly of her pedigree, is to get the grade 1 stakes placed or stakes win. And so I wanted to go into the Spinaway, and I wanted her to run a good race, but it wasn't the ultimate target.
Well, the Alcibiades, she came back with a vengeance and just took it to them from the start, from the rail. This is one thing, if you look at her past performances, the thing that just stands out to me is just versatility. It doesn't matter how she can win from anywhere. And the fact that obviously she broke her maiden sprinting that 5.5 furlongs, and now, you know, having won twice, going the mile in the 16th, and showing 2 different dimensions doing it. Again, from the Alcibiades, winning it on the front end, and then in the Juvenile Fillies, I mean, she was running 11th early.
Right. I was a little disappointed in her in the Alcibiades.
Really? Oh, tell me. Okay.
Yeah. I thought she had a wonderful trip, and some other horses didn't. I just think so much of her that I was surprised that they were able to get to her the way they did late. But, you know, talking to Tyler and looking at it all, I thought maybe she just pulled herself up in the Alcibiades, because if you watch after the race, she gallops out pretty good and never really lets anybody get by her. But I told Tyler when I put him up on her in the Breeders' Cup, I said, you're riding a much better horse today than you were a month ago in the Alcibiades. I felt like she just trained really well, and but never would I believe that she could overcome what she overcame in the Breeders' Cup and still win.
Oh, I have that replay right here. You can take us through it.
It was one of my biggest wow moments of 42 years of training.
Okay, well, here's the NetJets Juvenile Fillies, and you can tell us just your perspective here.
Yeah, I'm down at the wire, so she goes by me about right now, and I'm like, what is going on? Because she's not really running, and in all honesty, I didn't think we had a prayer. We knew there was going to be a lot of speed, but I figured we'd be maybe third or fourth or fifth. I know NBC had a camera on me, and I think if they showed it, you would just see me like, oh dear goodness,
Oh man.
And even here, it's not easy with the short stretch, and you've got these young horses, and it's not easy to overcome what she overcame. And a lot's been said, and Tyler rode a tremendous race. He really did. But if you talk to Tyler, he'll also tell you he had so much horse. Like right here, again, she's checking. She has nowhere to go. She's letting everybody kind of get away from her. You would think she has a zero chance.
Right.
And then, now Tyler takes over and opens up. He pushes the gas, and there she goes. And again, he comes inside, and I'm still wanting him to find somewhere to go. And once he got here, I felt pretty good.
How hard is it? I mean, it's hard for any horse to go on the inside like that, show guts and determination to get through horses. But how hard is it, especially for a 2-year-old filly?
Oh, it's nearly impossible, really. That just shows how truly great she is. But the one thing I will say, and it's something that we believe in and we try really hard to do, is to get our young horses, get them multiple races. That was her 5th race. And I think that experience paid off. You saw that in the Breeders' Cup. We almost pulled it off the year before with Papa Cat. Yeah. He ran very well, who had a similar type of campaign. And then a few years back, Classic Empire.
Yeah.
All three of those horses, all three of them made their first starts in like May and June. And I think it's important if you can do it. And it's something we strive to do. And, there's always circumstances that doesn't let it happen. But if you can, like I said, those three horses have competed very well in the juvenile 2-year-old Breeders' Cup. And they had a lot of experience. And that experience definitely paid off for Wonder Wheel.
Well, she gives you your 6th Breeders' Cup championship score, and Tyler's first. And then on Saturday, he came back and he went for Brad Cox on Caravel. I mean, what an amazing weekend. But one of the things that did strike me as just a wow factor statement from you during the press conference is that you had already kind of put her up there as being your next Classic Empire.
Well, what had happened was, and then I took few guys took shots at me, of course, as they often do.
Squat them back.
But what I meant was, we've had some good horses. We had War of Will recently, Wonder Godot, of course, the Tep, got Stormy. But why I compared her to Classic Empire was that I thought she could win the Breeders' Cup like he did. Now, I can tell you, in my opinion, had Classic Empire been given the same situation that Wonder Wheel just won under, I don't see him winning the Breeders' Cup.
She just had that other
yeah,
je ne sais quoi quality to fight it out.
yes.
Well, the thing that I also find fascinating about that is that when you have a horse show so much grit on the track, she's such a sweetheart in the barn. I mean, at least the day I was there, she's just all cuddly. I mean, unbelievable.
She really is. She is so sweet. And she doesn't care about anything, which is just, it's kind of like you go in the morning and she's back in the back of her stall with her head down. And I'm like, are you okay, Mama? Are you okay? So then I run and grab a peppermint and twist it and let her hear the noise. And then that usually picks her head up and she comes out and has peppermint. But she is, through all her racing, if you watch her in the paddock, nothing. And that's what Tyler's always said about her, said that you can turn her on and turn her off, which is extremely important when you're riding a racehorse.
Well, after you collect your eclipse and she's had her little respite, what is the general overview? I mean, I know it's always one race at a time, but ideally, what is your plan for her in 2023?
Well, it's something we still need to talk about, the greens and us. But I think we've had pretty good luck in New Orleans. We nearly won the Oaks with Wonder Godot. I feel like War Will was on his game in the Kentucky Derby. He just got very unlucky. So I like it there. I like their series. I could see her possibly going there and making her first start against Fillies. Now I'm saying all this. This is just me shooting from the hip without any. This is still under debate and discussion.
Okay.
It's one thing about me. I really try to involve the owners. I think it's very important. It's their horse.
Yeah.
And they need to be part of the process. It's not just about running and winning. It's about the journey. And my wife says that it's our job to give them the beacons, but it's their plane to fly. So, I could see her having her first start of the year against Fillies. And then depending how well she runs in that first start, it wouldn't be out of the question that she tries Colts.
Well, I love that. Well, you know what I should do? Well, I'm dual Hall of Famer. I should bring in another Hall of Famer who you might have to go up against then, potentially, if you go up against Colts. And that is Todd Pletcher.
Hey, that was a trick.
Todd, did you hear that?
I did. That's breaking news.
Right? So this
Hey,
is
Todd.
Hey, we're going from here. Eclipse champion 2-year-old filly. You're going to have the Eclipse champion 2-year-old colt in Forte, our FanDuel juvenile winner. And obviously somebody who's also trained some sweet mares who can throw it down on the track. But yeah, it's kind of fun here, right? We can already kind of set up. We can say if this does materialize, the genesis of the conversation could have been like right here on the show.
All began here.
So, guys, do you talk often? Is there a Hall of Fame club?
We talk. We see each other at Saratoga every morning and say hi, and we talk. We usually run into each other at horse sales, right? And Todd does a little more New York, and I do a little more Toronto and Florida. But we do run into each other.
Yeah. Well, what is the rivalry like when you have horses on track together? Is there ever smack talking? Do we know? We see, for example, right, with the World Wrestling Federation, at least that's what it was when I was a kid. Now they have all these different things, MMA, and I don't even know it, whatever. But is there any friendly smack talking in the mornings?
I don't think so. Not you and I, Todd.
I try to keep the smack talking to a minimum because this game will bring it down in a hurry. So
I can remember, this goes back a while, when Norman was, my assistant, my son Norman, and he told somebody we ran two in the bluegrass. He said, it wouldn't shock me if we finished 1-2. And I was like, don't you ever that again. And we did. We finished like 9th and 10th. Yeah, Todd and I aren't much smack talkers.
No, I know you guys are both so nice, so I can't really imagine. But I was just thinking, if it's ever just a play.
No, he's been my basketball coach a long time ago, but then he never asked me to come back.
Basketball coach.
Yeah.
You've been on a bad run at the trainers versus the jockeys in the racetrack chaplaincy fundraiser basketball game. Has not been going real well lately.
Oh, no. Well, the Breeders' Cup at least has been going very well for both of you. And so, Mark, I have to thank you and congratulate you again. You've got a tremendous team behind you. I'm a huge fan of David Carroll, by the way. He's like one of my buds. He's one of my favorite people on earth, actually. And then, of course, the greens have been fabulous. Jonathan, if you're watching, you're amazing. Thank you so much for letting me participate. We've got the T-shirts that we're going to be rocking out with the Wonder Wheel. And Webb Slinger, he gets a shout out too. And but yeah, we're excited to see where this leads in 2023. In the meantime, enjoy that Eclipse Award.
Well, thank you. And you guys have a good evening.
Thank you, Mark. Hall of Famer Mark Casse. And now we're moving on to Todd. But Todd, you're only in one Hall of Fame, as far as I know. No, is there more?
I'm in a couple, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I'm an idiot then.
Well, one of them you would never guess. So.
Oh, what's the other? What's one I would never guess?
So when I was a senior in college at the University of Arizona, my roommate worked for the Arizona Daily Wildcat, which was the college newspaper. So he came back to the apartment one day and he said, hey, the intramural job covering intramurals for the Arizona Daily Wildcat came open today. I think you should take the job. And he said, it's a cupcake job. All you got to do is write an article, do some rankings for the intramurals. And so anyways, I took the job. And I figured out I was reffing basketball games for intramurals. So I would ref a game, get paid $15 for that. And then I would write an article about the game and get another $15. So it was like anyways, long story short, I did some other articles and stuff. Actually, it was the year of Sunday Silence beating Easy Goer in the Kentucky Derby. So I did a pre-race article about that. Picked Sunday Silence to win. And anyways, so later on, I was inducted into the Arizona Daily Wildcat Hall of Fame. That was my first Hall of Fame.
Okay.
Since then, also did Texas Horse Racing Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm sorry. Then, yeah, I forgive me for cutting you, telling you short. So multiple Hall of Famer Todd Pletcher. I just think of, when I'm thinking Hall of Fame, I'm thinking of that Saratoga, the walk. And again, your legendary Hall of Fame induction speech intro, courtesy of Mr. Mike Rapoli, who is the owner of Forte. Let's talk about that. Okay, first of all, I'm going to apologize because I really and truly did think that nobody was going to beat Cave Rock. The horse was just coming in with these insane figures and hadn't even been touched really. And he had the pedigree to go along anyway. And he proved that he could do it, winning the American Pharoah. But then, and we talked about this at the barn, as you'll remember, you have Forte. He's already got that grade 1 win over the host track there. And he's from Family 1X. And he does go on and prevail. And so here's the weird, I said this to Rapoli. Sorry to cut you off. I just want to make sure I wow everybody, and hopefully you too with this. The past 5 years alone in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, 4 of the winners are all from Family 1X. 4, including now the last consecutive 3.
Interesting.
It blows my mind.
I did not know that.
It blows my mind. So yeah, Forte, Corniche, Essential Quality, and then you skip a year to Game Winner. All of you guys, Family 1X. It's nuts.
It's awesome.
I know. I love this stuff. So tell me, I mean, from your perspective, it's awesome to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I'm sure, but is it also cool that you also trained Violence, his sire? Is there something that makes it just even more special when you've got that family connection?
Yeah, I think there's always something a little extra special when you train some of the family, and especially Forte's so much resembles Violence, and not only in his disposition, but I mean his size, his frame, his markings, his way of galloping, just everything is really just modeled right after his sire. So he was one that came in early to Palm Beach Downs, and right away, you could tell he was at the top of the class from the very beginning. And so to have it all work out that way and culminating with the Breeders' Cup win, it was pretty cool for us, Pulley Stable, St. Elias Stable, everybody. It was great to see.
No, I mean, this horse, he was deserving of respect. I mean, not only does he have you as his conditioner, but yeah, I mean, he came out gangbusters on debut, wins by 7 3/4 lengths. The only loss was a Sanford, and I can't recall what was sort of the thought on that performance.
Well, we were disappointed that he didn't win, but aside from that, I think we all learned a lot the first couple of weeks of the Saratoga meet, that it was just, the track was different than any Saratoga track that I can really recall. It was deeper, it was more demanding, it was tiring, and he got in a position where he had a lot of ground to make up, and he was getting a lot of kickback throughout the race, and really never got extracted until very late in the race. And once he did, he closed some ground and he galloped out well. And we kind of left there disappointed in the outcome of the race, but not necessarily disappointed in what we saw from him. And I think in retrospect, it probably was a great education for him, getting all that kickback, all that experience paid off down the road.
And he's another horse. I was talking about Wonder Wheel, because you were so kind. We were able to spend a little time with Forte at the barn during the Saratoga meet, and he's got a great temperament. He was so sweet. He's very engaging. And I do remember, even before he had made that debut, you had come on this show and you had told me this was going to be a horse to watch. You weren't lying.
No, he does. He's got a terrific temperament. He's very push button to train. You can, he'll do whatever you ask him to do. He's not an overzealous horse that you're constantly trying to slow down. He'll work with his workmate and is happy to do whatever you ask him to do. So really straightforward kind of horse to be around.
Well, I can only imagine how big that winner circle was, because I was still running around trying to grab the different interviews I was going to have to set up for later. But what was the afterglow like with Mike?
It was everything you would expect it to be. It was, yeah. I mean, he was super pumped. Very reminiscent of when Uncle Mo won the Juvenile. I mean, there's something cool about having the best 2-year-old colt, and of course that gives you hopes for next year. So that's a special moment. But he had all of his family and friends there, and he was super excited, and as was the whole group. It was that's why guys like Michael Pulley are in the business for moments like that.
Well, how much cooler also, because I mean, the Breeders' Cup this year was at Keeneland. It was at Keeneland in 2021 that this horse was picked up for $110,000 by you guys as a yearling. I mean, and now he's won over just under 1.6 million and is going to be Eclipse champion 2-year-old. Can you speak to that a bit about just how, I mean, you can spend $400,000, $500,000 on a horse, but sometimes it's the more modest priced.
No, I mean, we bought another Violence colt that we absolutely loved in that same yearling sale and gave $950 for him. So, it's what we hope for as a team. Mike's put together a great team. Jacob West selected this colt, and we spent a lot of time looking at a lot of horses, and we bought quite a few horses, and you know, we kind of looked at it like we got to get at least one really good one out of it. And, you know, hopefully there's some others there as well, but you know, that's sort of the objective. If we can have one champion every year out of the group, sign us up. That's what we're looking to do.
Oh my goodness. Well, you got your champion right here. Forte won the last 3. Here is the actual race. You can take us through it. The FanDuel Juvenile. Just your impressions of it. Sorry. I told Michael before we went live, actually, you know, we're doing this remotely, thankfully. I am actually suffering from the flu right now, which is not very fun. But you got to persevere, because I already had you guys lined up and I was not going to cancel. So here's the race. Okay, and give us your impression. I think, Todd, you have frozen, or I'm frozen. One of us is frozen. Let me see which one it is. Let's see here. I think Todd is frozen. It might be me. I don't know. Let me see. Okay, trying to figure out. Oh, it was Todd that was frozen. Hopefully Todd will be joining us right back. In the meantime, just sit back and watch Forte winning the FanDuel Juvenile. And I'll drink some water. Okay, you're back.
Okay, so I don't know where I lost you.
I don't know either. I'm sorry. At first, I didn't even know if it was me frozen or if it was you frozen.
No, but yeah, I mean, what I was saying is we were happy with the trip we were getting. We were happy that someone showed a little initiative to at least go out with Cave Rock for a little while. And then, you know, I think right here, this is where the experience we got in the Breeders' Futurity really paid off, because in the Breeders' Futurity, he moved to Loggins pretty easily, and I thought he had a lot of horse to go on by. And when he got next to Loggins, he kind of laid on him a little bit and leaned on him, and was just, you know, a little bit green finishing off the race. So one of the things I read and I talked about is, if you get in that position and you get a chance to take a run at what we presume is going to be Cave Rock, try to stay away from him a little bit, stay a few pass away, so you hopefully don't get close to him and he starts to lean on him a little bit like he did in the Breeders' Futurity. So that worked out really well.
I love it. So, I mean, how often do you as a trainer go through and watch the replays to sort of just glean a sense of what is best going to serve your horse, not only from the physical standpoint, but what you're talking about here with the mental, you know, what a horse may want to, just through its own temperament or proclivity, what he's maybe has sort of a habit of potentially doing, just sorting that all out?
I mean, I try to watch the replay, you know, not only the pan shot, but especially the head on, you know, pretty much every race that we run in. And, you know, sometimes a race like Forte's, you know, I'll go back and watch several times, and, you know, and I'll also go back and try to watch a lot of the competition's replays and kind of get a sense of what they're going to do, especially, you know, for these bigger races.
It's so you can, it's sort of in a way. I mean, I know if other sports, they have their whole like dry erase boards. You're gonna like map out your whole plan, sort it out, your basketball, and whatnot, and the football players, they go through and they watch all the replays, figure out all the different lines of scrimmage and all of that. So it's not so different.
No, I mean, look, you can come up with all these plans and you know, hopefully things are going to go the way you draw it up or the way you envision it. But you also have to be ready to have confidence in your jockey to call an audible. And
yeah,
you know, so if you know, the main thing I try to do as a trainer is share insight with the jockeys, that, you know, something that I know about the horse that maybe they don't know. So, and then we'll talk, plan A, and then be ready to hopefully execute that, but be prepared to call an audible if needed.
Well, how did he come out of the race? What are the plans for 2023? Overview.
So he came out of the race
hard.
well. Yeah, he's at Stone Street, Ocala, getting a little bit of a freshman, a little bit of a break, and we're kind of thinking of a 2 prep program, and sometime around the 1st of March would hopefully be the first one. So a race like the Fountain of Youth could be in play. The great thing about the spring is there's literally a prep race somewhere every weekend. So then the question would be if we had our final prep in the Grade 1 Florida Derby or the Grade 1 Bluegrass, and the fact that he's 2 for 2 at Keeneland, that makes it enticing. So, but as always, these things you can plan a long ways out, and then the main thing is you gotta see how your horse is doing and let him take you to the right race.
Well, let's now talk about Malathaat. She was just retired, joined the Broodmare band over at Shadwell. This is a horse, going back to what I was talking about regarding Wonder Wheel, who so sweet. I mean, just a truly sweet temperament that she'll just cuddle. and yet what we see her do on track, she fights. And I think that dynamic is just so interesting in a horse. And this race in particular was just a nail biter. I can't imagine what you were thinking watching her come down the stretch.
Yeah, that was as close as it gets, and she literally got there the last lunge, and so it was the most, I'd say, the most exciting race of all the Breeders' Cups, just with the 3 horses on the wire and the to finish like that. It was amazing, and I'm usually not as certain, when races are close like that. I don't usually get too excited, but for whatever reason, I really felt like she had won watching it live. I kind of just caught the surge, and it looked to me like she'd put her nose on the wire. So I celebrated, and then they started showing the replays, and I was like, ew, man, I'm going to look really stupid if she didn't win this photo. But yeah, thankfully, in what seemed like it took about 10 minutes, but I'm sure it wasn't that long to finally post her number. Yeah. But it was nerve-wracking waiting for that number to come up.
Oh, I'm sure. But well, from my perspective, not that anybody needs to care about mine, but I just wrapped shooting an interview package with Charlie Appleby in the paddock right before the gates popped open. As soon as they did, I'm still connected to my camera guy, Ern, who and we're
Right.
like hustling together in the paddock to where the big monitor is to watch the race. And when they're coming down the stretch, I knew she hit the wire first. I knew it was Malathaat. I was like, yeah, because I was biased because I've hung out with her and you're awesome. And I mean, not that the other connections aren't great too, but when you've actually snuggled with the horse, it takes it to another level. But so I'm like, yeah, she won. And then, like you said, they went into this long photo finish talk. And so when they finally did announce it, I was standing with a friend and I said, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And I high-fived her right as Steve Asmussen walks by. So I'm thinking, oh, great. I was like, I hope I didn't offend him, because obviously Clarier put in a tremendous performance too, but I was a Malathaat homer. So let's go ahead and we'll watch this race, and you can just take it through. And how did Ness come out? Is Ness good?
She's good. Yeah, she's good.
So we'll see her back next year, hopefully.
We will.
You got to get a clips from her with a champion 3-year-old. You're going to get champion older mare here with Malathaat. Let's go ahead and share this screen. Boom, and here we go. The Longines Distaff. Okay, so here we go.
Yeah, I mean, this was pretty much exactly where we expected Malathaat to be. This was definitely not where we expected Ness to be. We thought Ness would be right behind search results there. and she didn't get away real well. She didn't corner real well the first turn, and then Irad tried to make up some ground to get up to the spot he thought he should be in, which I think turned out to be a little bit premature for her. I guess, the interesting thing about it is, I think if Irad doesn't commit to making that early move, Malathaat doesn't get out in the clear like she does right here, which Johnny's able to kind of work his way off the rail and put her in the position that we want her to be in. Had to sacrifice a little ground on the far turn to keep her momentum going, but this was the game plan that we had talked about, and Johnny was able to execute it really well. I think getting stuck on the inside last year in the Distaff, even though she only got beat a half a length, I think if he could have gotten her into the clear like he did in this race, it might have made the difference. But then it was just, can she wear him down from here? And took her the whole way to do it, but thankfully she got there just in time.
Yeah, and coming around the turn into the middle of the track, she guts it out. I love it so much.
Yeah, I mean, right here, it looks like Clear Air is coming through on the inside. I was like, oh, she's going to get, a sweet run right up the rail. And then, like I said, right there, I said, oh, man, she lunged just at the right time.
Did Johnny know he had it?
You know what? Honestly, we never even talked about that. By the time he got back to the winner's circle, her number was already up. So
I was curious to know, because it is funny. I didn't even, from the angle where we were standing in the paddock, I didn't even realize that Blue Stripe was in the middle there. I saw Clear Air and I saw Malathaat, and I didn't even see Blue Stripe. But it's just one of those things that there's sometimes the jockeys just know, and in that frame, it looked to me like he knew he made it. Which is why I asked. But the decision you guys made, back in the Shuvi to add the blinkers, do you feel like, what was the impetus for that?
Well, I mean, it's actually something that we've had in the back of our minds from very early in her career. But, she was just so consistent. She kept showing up and winning most of her races. And so it's difficult to make an equipment change in that situation. But we talked about it a little bit after the double dog dare first start this year. She literally pulled herself up when she made the lead. And so, I said, well, she's first time off the bench, and, maybe she was a little rusty, and she should improve for that. So running back in the Phipps, she got beat a really tough photo to Clarier in there. And when Johnny came back, he said, I think, we just got to make the change. He said, there's something. She spotted something about 50 yards before the finish line, and he said it cost her the race, that she put the brakes on momentarily. And so we worked her in the blinkers. You could see that they made a difference. They made her more focused. They made her kind of separate herself from her workmate on the gallop outs more. And, she's so smart that she kind of thinks when she puts her nose in front that's the end of the game. So, the thing about the Shuvi was she didn't run well at all. That was probably her worst performance of her career, but it wasn't the blinkers. I was confident. I knew in the paddock that she was off her game. It was super hot and humid that day. She came to the paddock. She was very agitated, and she was super quiet. And I told Johnny to really warm her up well and try to get her enthusiasm, but he even said in the post parade, that he could tell she wasn't on her game. She gritted it out and still was second, but so there was some thought, well, did the blinkers have anything to do with it? And I was confident that was not the case. So we stuck with the blinkers and came back in the personal ensign, and then she was back to herself then. And then obviously same thing for the Spinster in the Breeders' Cup.
Well, it's always fun to see a horse come back. I mean, she ran in the Distaff last year. She was that close third. I mean, she was only beaten half a length, and then to come back and win, and to go out, like I said, to close out her career. I mean, it's a great record. 10 wins from 14 starts, never off the board. And I'm guessing you don't know, and if you did know, you probably wouldn't tell us, but I'll still ask. Do you have any idea who she might be bred to?
I don't. I know that the Shadwell team is obviously looking at it very closely. Yeah. I do know that going to go to a proven stallion. That's the only decision that I know of that's been made.
Do you know the other thing I find so interesting, and because both your gals here, Malathaat and Ness and Clariere, and now we'll also talk about Cody's Wish too. One of the things that they all have in common is, okay, they're all by Curlin. And with Malathaat and Ness, they're out of daughters of AP Indy. Clariere is out of a daughter of Bernardini, and Bernardini's by AP Indy. Cody's Wish is by Curlin, and he's out of a Tappet mare. And Tappet is by Pulpit, who's by AP Indy. So this Curlin over AP Indy is kind of, I don't know. We're seeing a lot of this top grade 1 class, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
And
it's a terrific cross.
Absolutely. So I'm not going to show the replay because everybody's seen the replay gazillion times at this point, and I don't want you to have to sit there and just watch a tremendous racehorse in Life is Good have to settle for not winning. But Life is Good put in a fabulous performance. I mean, he was up against it, right, in the Classic with Flightline coming on, and once he finally hooked, they hooked, and they just, I think he showed tremendous heart to even keep trying to go on with it. But
yeah, he really did. I don't feel like he lost anything in defeat.
No.
And there was we had 2 other options on the card that we could have went in. I think the sprint would have been very interesting for him. He'd already won the dirt mile last year, so we felt like that he deserved a chance at being champion older horse and horse of the year if he were able to pull it off. And so we kind of went down swinging, and I've had many people tell me how impressed they were with the way he ran, and
I'm one of them. Yeah,
I have a feeling he's going to make a tremendous stallion. He's a gifted horse, tons of talent, beautiful, well-bred. So I'm excited about him going to stud.
Oh yeah, he's over there at Windstar, where Life is Good. Certainly, he's going to get a great book of mares, undoubtedly. Todd, just to close it out, I mean, it's got was this now 14 Breeders' Cup Championship wins total for you?
Yeah, we were blessed. That was a good day. I think any year you go into the Breeders' Cup and think you can get one, it's these races are. I heard Aidan O'Brien say that in an interview earlier in the week. Like, you have to respect how difficult these races are to win, and so to be blessed to have two on the weekend was awesome for our whole team.
And looking ahead to 2023, what are some of the things you're most looking forward to? I can tell you, as you already know, one of the horses I am definitely excited about, who I think is going to actually run before the end of the year here again in the Demoiselle, is Malathaat's full sister, Julia Shining.
Yeah, we're excited about her. Debut was very impressive, and she's going to try to follow in her older sister's footsteps and try to win the Demoiselle. And excited about her. Obviously, Forte coming back, Ness coming back. We've got Colonel Liam back in full training.
Yes.
He's hopefully going to try to three-peat in the Pegasus Turf. So things to look forward to, and then also, kind of sad when you send off a Malathaat and a Life is Good. Those horses are super hard to replace. They just don't come along very often. But we were lucky enough to have them come through our barn, and I'm proud of the work the whole team did with both of those horses.
Well, your team has just been tremendously gracious with their time. Obviously, you run a solid operation. These horses are so well cared for, so game. Congratulations to everybody. I mean, not just at the barn, but like you mentioned, the team that goes to the sales. I've seen the war room, so I understand just how much goes into it. And I can't thank you enough for all the time you've given us this year. I'll be bothering you next year. So in the meantime, and hopefully I see you guys at Tampa. Hopefully you bring somebody for our prep races too,
We usually try to.
I know
Tampa's
you do.
been good to us.
That's right. And so, Todd, thank you so much for your time, and best to everybody there. Again, at Todd, at the Pletcher Barn, and I can't thank you again enough. I hope you have a happy new year and continued success into 2023.
Thanks, Ren.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Todd. Everybody, this has been your Future Stars Forecast Rewind, talking with the connections of some of these winners that we saw just wow us at Breeders' Cup 2022. I am going to just apologize one more time. I am struggling with the flu right now. So if I seem in any way disoriented, that is why. I have a very valid excuse. But I do hope that you did enjoy this show. I would highly recommend, if you missed any of the action over the Breeders' Cup, or any of these segments that NBC produced, like the Cody Dorman segment, you can go online, go to YouTube, you can check it out that way. And they've done such a tremendous job in really telling the stories of these horses and their connections. And I will see you back in 2023 for the Future Stars Forecast as that next crop of 2-year-olds starts to make some noise. So again, in the meantime, stay safe. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, a Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year. See you in 2023.